Hi, everyone. This is Norman Kochnick here for Eyes on Cricket, or more importantly, Eyes on Sports. But we're here today, of course, for the World Test Championship final. Finally here, June the 7th, in the Oval, or in fact on the Oval, which is called Kennington Oval. And in fact, that ground has great history. It's the home of the Surrey Cricket Club. People like Adam Hollioake, of course, dwelled there. It is a sensational ground. I'm going to get David Graveney join us fairly soon. But what a match. What a match we have coming up here. This is going to be, as it's been put quite clearly, this is the test of tests. And I think the previous one where India played New Zealand, which New Zealand won, was certainly significant, definitely significant. But I do think this is going to be of a greater magnitude in terms of world cricket. I think the crescendo of Australia having led most of the time at the table, the top position in the World Test Championship, they've been well and truly ahead. But the reality is that India has been sneaking up behind them quite a bit. They've positioned themselves in that place, and only 1 hour and 48 minutes from kickoff, we're going to find out exactly who's playing and who's not playing. Obviously, a lot of discussion already about the likes of Ashwin, whether he'll be in the side, Thakur, Shardul Thakur, whether it'll be Ashwin or Thakur. Looks like Jadeja's a certainty. Whether it's Barrett or Ishan Kishan as the keeper, as Shami, Siraj, and Umar probably will be the bowling quartet, which will include potentially a fourth fast bowler, potentially, if they decide to use Thakur. That's what the word is. A lot of discussion about Ashwin not playing. That's craziness, in my opinion. They both should play. I know Pat Cummins has talked about in his interviews that he actually thinks that the two spinners is not the way to go. I totally disagree. I think that's the edge India will have on this ground. The Oval is known to take a bit of pace and swing, but it could also take the spin bowling. And I truly believe that the combination of Jadeja and Ashwin is the best spin bowler in the world and shouldn't be even considered to be discounted. I'm just waiting for David Graham. He should be here any minute now. David, I think I told him to come at 5:45, which is any minute now. So we've got comments from Our Earth is Best. I can see Ariane Sikara's there. Dinesh Chowdhury, bring it on. Pinnacle Test cricket. It is the Pinnacle Test cricket. There's no doubt about that. I've seen comments which I've posted in the media. Of course, we've had an amazing IPL. I've had an amazing IPL where, again, CSK came home winners. MS Dhoni wouldn't have looked astray in this test team, by the way. In fact, sneakily, I would have probably put him in front of Rishabh after Rishabh Pant's injury. We know of. It would have been good to have. It would have been good to have good old Rishabh Pant replaced by none other than MS Dhoni. That would have been something, wouldn't it? Imagine MS Dhoni playing this match. How great would that have been for him? But he's not on the scene, so we can't say that. Our Earth is Best. All okay. Scott Wild Fanatic says Scott Boland will be the key. You could argue that. Rain might eat up 20 to 30% of the advantage on your right, but I think it won't matter. Ravi is coming. No, what are you saying? Responsible batting is needed for Australia, batting long, not throwing wickets, and doing the same. But I think India's two spinners are a key. I think that's extremely important. I think India need to have those two spinners in there. That's my opinion. Shardul Thakur can also be useful from his batting perspective. So, Rushek Deshpande, sir, have you sent me my message regarding captain? Well, yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point. The fact is you thought that there should be a change of captain from Pat Cummins. I kind of agree. We're being joined by Graveney. David's in a bit of semi-darkness there. Look, Rishikesh Deshpande, I do agree with you. I do think that Pat Cummins is probably not the best captain. David Graven there is there. We've got David, can you hear me? We've got one too many there. David, can you hear me? I can hear you, David. Talk. David, can you hear me? Well, in the meantime, yes, I tend to agree with Rishikesh. I think you have a point there that Pat Cummins is probably not the most relevant captain, but he has this. He will play this. He will be involved with this particular match. There's no doubt about that. He's definitely going to be involved with this test. So we'll wait and see. So Steve Smith is a better skipper. Rishikesh, he might be, but it's too late. He's not captaining this match. Let's not talk about it anymore for this point. Pat is fine. You think Manu John, okay. The problem is the middle order of Australia. Well, let's not talk about problems at this stage. Let's talk about the positives. But David, can you hear me? David's trying again. Okay, let's just see whether David can get on. David? Arrows is best as saying Travis Head is Australia's best middle order batsman in the last 12 months. Well, as long as he's middle order, I'll agree with that. But it's opening, I don't want him anywhere near the opening spot. That's a big mistake. So while David's sorting out his computer, we might just be careful there. The live chat is there. So I just think that we'll go through the lineups now as well. I'm not sure whether David's actually joined us or not. No, he's still floating around there. I'll remove him. Come in a minute. So the reality is that the Australian team is pretty much solid, and it's basically been discussed. We know that Josh Hazlewood has not kept his position. His injury has not recovered sufficiently. He's still in the greater squad, but Michael Nessa came in his place. But in fact, it'll be Scott Boland who'll be playing his first Test match, I believe, in England. So that will be the opening batters, of course, of hello, Shrick Sting. How are you? The reality is that the Australian team will be undoubtedly Warner and Labuschagne. Sorry, Warner and Khawaja, followed by Labuschagne. Number 4 will be Smith. Head will be 5. Cam Green will be 6. Then you'll have Carey at 7. And the bowlers of Stark, Pat Cummins, Lyon, and then ultimately Boland will make the 11. So Australia will have 4 bowlers and the all-rounder Cameron Green to play. 4 bowlers being Stark, not Hazlewood, Stark, Cummins, Boland, and Lyon, with Cam Green as the all-rounder. Pretty good side. They've also got Mitchell Marsh in the background as well. That's a pretty certain, settled side. But it's the Indian side that there's been an element of doubt about. India will win, yes. Dilshad Alam, I agree with you. I agree with you indeed. I think India is still favourites to win this. David hasn't joined us yet. Okay, so the Indian team. Now, I put out a post on my community page. You would have seen that the Indian team, the doubtfuls are Ashwin or Thakur. There's also Akshar Patel floating around, but one of those 3, I'd say, will be in. I'm hoping it's Ashwin, but it may well be Thakur. In the case of the keeping position, Bharat will probably be the keeper. Ishan Kishan, in my opinion, should have been the one that was selected, but he wasn't. Oops. David.
Hi, Norman. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad.
Now, I'm sorry I'm not over there in England. I'm still dealing with a property matter, but I'm assured it will be within the next couple of weeks. I'll be there for the Lord's Test at the very least. So I'm very upset that I'm not there. Our Ashes tour, the playing tour, was not sufficient numbers, but that's another thing. So, David, we've already had one amazing test. That is England versus Ireland. I thought that was a great test. I thought the performances of 2 of your bats, both Ben Duckett, Ben Duckett, and of course Ollie Pope, double century and century. It's quite amazing. That was quite an impressive start to season.
Yeah, I would have to say, with the greatest respect to Ireland, their bowling attack would not be challenging. I would have to say so. They got some decent batters, but once that guy who played in the IPL, the left-arm seamer, Josh Little, who played for Gujarat. No, but you've still got to bat against who you've got to bat against. So, and the Irish actually showed some great resistance in the second innings. Shows that just is a bit of a mystery, Norman, around Ben Stokes. That actually, is he fit to bowl or not fit to bowl? They're putting up
he broke a record, didn't he? He actually broke a record. The first captain to not
bat,
not bowl, not do anything effectively, not keep or do anything.
He didn't even toss the coin because they don't get to do that either now. So, he's it'll be interesting to see how fit he is. The Moeen Ali selection, I don't know whether that's filtered through, that he's now joined the squad as a replacement for Jack Leach. Ironically, actually, Norman, I think that makes us a stronger team, certainly batting wise. And he actually is better when he is just the slow bowling option on a wicket that doesn't spin. He doesn't. If he goes to Sri Lanka, India, for instance, I think he struggles with the pressure or expectation. I think him bowling spin in the test on the wickets where I anticipate them what they're going to be like, there'll be no expectation on him getting 5 wickets in innings. He might end up doing that, but he's in a better position if there's not too much pressure lumped on him.
Yeah. But David, it's a very positive start for England to have thumped a lesser quality, let's say Ireland at bowling attack, but still they did the job. They have to still hit the runs. No matter how good or bad the bowling,
still has to bowl. They found another new bowler who's actually come through the system. I don't think, other than playing a bit more cricket and getting the guys who played in the IPL or actually weren't playing the IPL, they were just sitting on the side, most of them. That would have been different, but as soon as they get into it, they'll be fine. And actually, Duncan Fletcher had a really good view, which is actually, I don't want to play too many warm-up games because by the time, if the series is compressed, your players are exhausted by the time they get to the end of the 5th test. I just think Australia will be in a better position for a while because obviously it's a high-class fixture they're playing in. And that, again, great respect to Ireland. But in the Ireland game, for instance, Harry Brook hardly had a bat. Ben Stokes didn't have a bat at all. Whereas I think in this, the weather is set fair in England, remarkably, and it has been for a number of weeks. So it will be, Australia will be a little bit more battle hardened, if that's the expression, Norman. I think that playing a fantastic India team. And I know you don't like the IPL that much, but some of the performances were just off the radar virtually, in terms of Gill played like Kohli played, like sort of conventional shots, didn't go, and it showed actually you can exist in that format by just playing proper shots. Just do it more often. All the people who tried to do funky shots and whatever, they had some success, looked spectacular, but the ability to repeat it day after day just is not easy to do. So, but I think that tournament revealed a number of young Indian batsmen who will be the next generation. And I think it's fantastic.
No doubt. So, okay. Ireland won. We'll put that to one side. There's a big Ashes series coming up post this, but we have right in front of us today, in a matter of only a handful of hours. In fact, it's an hour and 35 minutes from the start of play. We'll have Australia versus India.
I think it's I'm really excited, and I think the Oval. Somebody on Cricket Info was saying why they play it in England, and the answer for that, not trying to be biased, I think it's this time of year it has to be played. I do think England, being a little bit more cosmopolitan as a country, could actually play a test match when England are not taking part, and still get full crowds. With India, India and Australia have massive support within the UK, and particularly in London for Australia, south of the river. Every barman, and every bar is an Australian, or could be a New Zealander. So I think where they played it before, Southampton the wicket did too much. It was a challenging wicket, and it actually suited New Zealand right down to the tee. Whereas I think the Oval is a really good Test match venue, and it will be a fair wicket for both teams.
Will it take more spin?
It can do, but it when it has spun against Australia, that was actually by design. That in my period of time as being chairman selectors and the captains I worked with, we had no influence, a bit like Australia. And I do believe the Australians when they say they do not intervene in terms of the wickets. All that happens in Australia is they play as they normally play. Sydney spins, Brisbane is quick but spins eventually. Adelaide's pretty flat, Melbourne's pretty flat. So they might have. I don't think there'll be any influence on the wicket. They will want the match to go the distance. So I'm really excited. I think it'd be. Ireland was a good start because it's quite a historic thing for England to play Ireland for lots and lots of reasons, which I won't bore you with. But I think this final will, and I think it's a really good system over 2 years to work out who is the best team. Be interesting to see who Australia play because there's lots of comments in the press about Hazelwood not being fit.
Well, I think the side's pretty settled. The Australian side will almost definitely be. Boland will go in for Hazelwood, and it'll be virtually the same 11. You'll have, obviously, Khawaja, Warner, Labuschagne, Smith, Head, Green, Carey, then the bowlers of Cummings, Stark, Lyon, and Boland. That'll be the Australian side. That's pretty settled, I think.
Yeah, you and I have spoken about Cameron Green, and I've always been a great fan, even before he burst onto the scene. That I was trying to convince people in Gloucestershire this is the all-rounder you need to select. And obviously he's moved on. But I do think if anybody of all the players that played in the IPL as non-Indian players, he handled his price tag better than anybody else. The English players didn't handle it very, very at all because fine, you get paid a lot of money, but the Indians, and you and I know, a lot of people would know that if you don't deliver, they'll let you know you don't deliver because there's a lot of investment.
I can see a day that Cameron Green captains Australia and Harry Brook captains England.
That could happen. But the speed with which Younger and Gill will captain India, and that it doesn't seem that long ago that they were all playing under-19 cricket.
That's true.
I think it's just fantastic for the game worldwide. All this talent. The thing that has to be managed, Norman, was stating the obvious. So everybody's thinking about: does it become a sort of T20 white ball competition that sort of moves across the world as the sun sets, starts in Australia and finishes in America? And what is the damage that will happen? Well, not damage. How do you manage Test match cricket? I think the Indians, I think deep down people will want to represent their country, but they also realise playing cricket is a short time. And nobody should deny them the fact of trying to maximise their earnings. Interesting enough, on a golfing thing, that there was, the US PGA Tour was split away from this new thing, the LIV, and now they're joining together because they realise, as would happen with Packer, that actually sooner or later you've got to sit down and work together. To be two separate organisations is not the way to go.
It's interesting. Now, the Australian side we've talked about, I think, is settled. Boland and Hazelwood out, settled. The Indian team, was it surprising to you to see Ajinkya Rahane returned to the team?
The way he played in the IPL, no, when you didn't watch it, he was like a player reborn. He just played a completely different way to he had done before. I think he's a very popular member of the team. He fills its slip. But their choice of what they have at their disposal is they've just got an an embarrassment of riches, Norman. They could pick about 3 or 4 teams the way they're going.
Well, Shreyas Iyer is injured. He's not there for that reason.
Yeah.
Sky could also have been selected.
Yeah.
And they've got Ishan Kashan there floating around as a possible backup keeper. He's also quality. But I think what I'll get your thoughts. The Indian team, you would think Rohit Sharma will open with Gill.
Yeah.
Especially with Rahul not there. Then you'll have Pujara in at 3, Kohli 4, Rahane 5. That seems pretty settled, doesn't it?
Just interrupt about Pujara. You wouldn't have probably noticed his input into county cricket in England. He converted 8 consecutive 50s into 800s.
Wow. 8 consecutive 50s and 800s.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now that does take some doing to do that. So
he deserves to be there. I agree with that.
Well, it'd be in really good form. You know, he's played a lot of red ball cricket. Doesn't play T20 in the UK. They've got a few holes. The bowling attack, Bumrah not being available. I assume he's not available. But it'd be interesting to see what they bowl, how many spinners they play.
What do you think? Well, I've just mentioned the top 5 batters, which speak for themselves. As I said, Gill with Sharma, obviously Pujara, Kohli, and Rahane. Then will it be Jadeja? He'll bat 6 probably.
Yeah, then the keeper. Who is going to keep for them? Because
it looks like they're going to go with Bharat, I think.
Right.
I would have put Ishan Kashan. I think he's more explosive because Rishabh Pant really would have been a key player, not here. You know what, David? What about putting? They could have jokingly had MS Dhoni return. He's been sensational for CSK.
Well, I've never seen crowds react to somebody just moving in a dressing room, let alone being on the pitch. But the way he handled his team was extraordinary, really. Because he had a seriously young attack, and the guy who is, I assume, is Sri Lanka, the guy who bowled at the end, a bit like Malinga. The way he handled those bowlers was extraordinary. And I think when it came to the winning bit, and it was extraordinary how they managed to win. I've never seen him show so much emotion actually at the end, to his own players, to the crowd, to other players' wives and whatever. So I think he realised he's still got something to offer in that tournament. But you know, he being such an extraordinary person, he will realise he's had his time playing Test match cricket, and it's now for younger people to take up the mantle.
All right, so out of the Indian top 6, which includes Jadeja, is settled. Let's just assume Bharat gets the keeping. He's 7. Then you've got, Shami and Siraj will be in they'll be in the team. So that's 8 and 9.
So that's the 2 seamers. They'll definitely play another spinner, which I personally would go for Ashwin, because I think
I would too.
And he's turning the ball the other way. Man, and again, Axar Patel has been an extraordinary addition to their group, particularly with the bat more than anything else.
Yes,
he gets them out of a lot of situations that can go in a different direction, as he did against Australia. When the game was in the balance, he put on runs with either the remaining batsmen or some of the bowlers, which actually was the difference between giving Australia a chance or just wiping them off the face of the earth. So,
well, that's not forgetting Axar Patel with Shardul Thakur. Both really took us apart at Brisbane. They helped immensely.
But I do think that actually, and I'm not clutching at straws, because I know England have been in the same position. That they sometimes, when the game has been in the balance against Australia, then the end result doesn't bear testimony to an even situation in the game. And certainly in that India-Australia Test match, they were parity at some stage, and they just moved away. So, and again, another Duncan Fletcher. I'm sure lots of Rahul Dravid will be the same, and McDonald will be the same for Australia. Runs at the back end of your innings is crucial. It can be the difference between winning and losing. So, but Cummins can bat. So that's why the guy who's at Glamorgan, is it Nesser, Neser? Is that how you pronounce it, Norman? The all-rounder?
Well, okay. Just I mustn't forget, we've talked about that. There's 9 players that appear to be certainties for India that I mentioned. Yeah. It's the Ashwin Thakur duel, with Akshar Patel. One of those 3 will get in. The other bowler is Umesh Yadav is likely to get in. There's also Jadev Unadkat, who's been given a lot of airplay as well. Do you think
they definitely need 3 seamers? There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, they're definitely good.
Yeah. So,
but someone with more pace than Thakur would have to be seen as the Cam Green equivalent, if that's the way they're going to go.
Yeah, but I think that weakens their batting a bit doing that. So I can see. So if you've got Jadeja batting 6, then you've got the wicketkeeper batting 7. Then you've got four slots, so it should be another spinner. I would go for Ashwin, and then 3 seamers. So
if they don't put Ashwin in this team, they're making a serious mistake, in my opinion. Remember the previous series? They didn't put him in at all. When England played in India, they didn't have him in at all, the whole Test series.
No.
And even the World Test. Did he play? He played the World Test Championship, though, didn't he, against New Zealand?
He did, but the oval wicket will lend itself to 2 spinners. If the weather stays as it is, then the wickets in England, English weather easily goes from monsoon floods to actually bone dry. And at the present stage, they're bone dry, great for spinners. They're doing a lot more bowling. And in T20, if you've got a leg spinner, you're on a good mission. So that would what I would do. The 3rd seamer, I don't know enough about who's there for India, but certainly.
Unadkat has got a good reputation. He's apparently has a bit of swing to his bowling, so that's a bonus. Well, actually, but Umesh Yadav has proven to be successful too.
What I would do is, for me, would go for a left-arm seamer, because the left-arm seamer will create some rough for Ashwin and for Lyon, but it goes together. Off-spin and left-arm seamer.
True.
Would be a good combination.
All right, just quickly, they're talking about. I've seen some reports here about who will they miss the most. Will Australia miss Hazelwood, and will India miss Bumrah? What do you think?
I would say the India would miss Bumrah. I think really more than anything else. Hazelwood is, actually, to be fair, Norman, to both of them, they are real key elements of their bowling attack. And they're pretty big shoes to fill on either side. So it does level up to a degree, but I would say they're equal on a par. I think they're really important. Bumrah, particularly in terms of his ability to take wickets, and
especially against Australia.
And Hazelwood is more around the control that he gives, because Mitchell Stark is fantastic bowler, but he can have his bit of strange days from time to time where the ball doesn't swing, or because if it doesn't swing or he has a bit of an off day, this lot they're gonna wade into him and play a few shots. So
we've got a comment here actually, but it's interrupt. Suman Adhikari is saying they'll also miss Rishabh Pant.
Of course,
and I agree with that as well.
Yeah, no, he is the closest equivalent to Adam Gilchrist in world cricket. That he actually, when he comes in, the opposition think, right, if we don't get him out within an hour, we are going to be behind the 8 ball if we're not careful. And I don't think there are too many wicket keepers in the world who are in that situation. They can all play. And actually, the one who's closest to it is the guy who keeps for, I would say, for New Zealand in that position, because he comes in and changes the course of the game. So,
the question is though,
good. Sorry,
I was going to say the question is, with Rishabh Pant not being there and so-called missing him, the like-for-like replacement of him would have been Ishan Kishan, because he can bat explosively like Pant and is a pretty reasonable keeper. Bharat's probably a slightly better keeper, and Bharat's more of a traditional old-style batter with a bit more cautiousness, like Ridham and Saha. So I wonder whether that, we still don't know yet, by the way, but They may go that way. You never know.
Yeah. Well, he certainly impressed the Kishan in the IPL.
Yeah.
That was a remarkable injury, that he walked into somebody's elbow and then got concussed and then couldn't bat. Just extraordinary, really. But anyway, so yeah, I think I think the sun's shining. Hopefully, they've sold lots of tickets, which I'm sure they have, and it goes the distance.
Has there been a report of some rain on the 4th and 5th day, I've heard, or 3rd and 4th?
Well, there is. It's raining in Spain as we speak, and thunderstorms drift up from that direction. So I would just monitor it to see how we go. But also, they are very, very good at covering their ground at the Oval. So, but this is not all-day rain. This is more thunderstorms. So.
All right, just quickly about the toss. Well, we may have mentioned it earlier, but a bit more deliberation about the toss. How significant is the toss here?
Well, in England, normally the toss is relevant because you want to put somebody in. Now, I don't know what the
if you win the toss, you put the other team in.
Well, in other venues, I think when you get to Lords in the Test match, assuming you've had normal English weather, it's a little bit defensive in some ways. Not quite as defensive as Nasser is saying in Brisbane against Australia, but then again, it was. I'm not sure what to do. We could get bolder. You can lose the game in the first session if you're batting. If you lose a shed load of wickets. I would be amazed whoever wins the toss, unless the wicket is. And we've had lots of dry weather. For instance, in the west of the country, it hasn't rained since the 8th of May, which is unusual in this country, to say the least. And I'd be amazed if people put somebody in. I've said to you about in England, look up, not down, in terms of what's the cloud.
I've said it before.
And there might be cloud cover, so that might tell you. But it also, what has happened in the last 2 or 3 weeks is that it started cloudy in the mornings and it's burnt away, and it's come from the east, which has been cold. The wind change now, this is to do with the weather that you're thinking that has been reported, that actually I think is a warmer air, so it might swing. So, but the
Oval has a swirling air, doesn't it? I remember that the wind swirls quite significantly there, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. But let's say Mark Taylor was one of the captains. It wouldn't be even a.
He'll bat.
He just bats. So, and I think that I'd be amazed if somebody put somebody in. But because it's a one-off match, Norman, I think it'd be a bit cat and mouse in terms of what people do. And they might do that with the toss. But given the weather, I would be amazed if somebody, if they don't bat first, that would be my choice without having a look at the wicket. But there we go.
I think Pat Cummins would be quite happy to lose the toss, to be honest, because I think he won't want that decision to be made by him. And there's been discussion with people on our chat room on the right here, and there's been a lot of discussion about Pat Cummins not being an appropriate captain for Australia yet again. And I still maintain there is not a longevity to him in that position. He even talked about it in one of his pre-game interviews. He talked about he doesn't think he hopes to, but he doesn't think he'll play all 6 matches this summer in England.
I think the rotation of the bowlers has come from both sides. Anderson particularly said he won't play all the Test matches, and they probably would have to manage Broad in the same instance. I think it's, as far as the fast bowling stock is concerned, is that both sides will rotate their bowlers.
Australia hasn't got that much depth. I'm telling you now. I mean, they've lost Hazelwood, I would say, for more than just this match. And Michael Nessa, capable bowler as he is, surprisingly, he's been doing better with a bat of late as well. I don't know whether we've got enough depth there. I really don't. These Australians haven't at all.
Well, Michael Nessa will be a workhorse, Norman, isn't he? You can throw him the ball and he'll bowl lots of overs. It would be a shame, but it just sounds like Hazelwood, the injuries he's talking about, sides and Achilles tendon, that is serious in terms of trying to come back from that.
What about only minutes ago we heard Moeen Ali has now been included in place of Jack Leach.
Yeah.
I think that's a massive bonus.
Well, as I said, I don't know whether you heard what I was saying. I think it indirectly makes England a stronger team in terms of batting.
You said that.
And also the fact of the type of the wickets, it's not like a Dust Bowl in Mumbai or whatever, where the expectation of the two English spinners having to match the two Indian spinners is a lot of pressure, whereas he will be throwing the ball as an alternative. And when he's throwing the ball as an alternative, he normally gets somebody out very quickly. And the first over, either people relax or do something or other, and his strike rate is really, really good.
Now, Lance Morris, I met his father last year. Lance Morris is injured still. He's injured himself. He's actually out of selection contention, which is a real pity because he had genuine pace around the Mark Wood pace. Okay. We're going to leave this match just for a moment. I think we're pretty settled on the teams. We both agree with Ashwin being in there, and probably Umashadov as the other bowler. Tucker will miss out. What do you think about go back to England? Have got too many bowlers to pick from, in my opinion.
Well, they have a few. There's a few that have got question marks in terms of injury. Mark Wood is, can he last 5 days? I'm not sure whether he can or not. Problem is,
I don't think he needs to play 5 days, David.
Well, I think the ECB were quite keen for these test matches to go somewhere near the distance and not finish in three days. That won't be shared by the England dressing room. I think the area, and I'm sure, and I hope that this is a preparation for Ben Stokes. There's something nagging away that actually, having seen him bat in New Zealand in the test match at the end where he could hardly stand on both legs, and he didn't play that much in the IPL. I just think it's really hard for him to come and play, and also the way he bowls, Norman. He is a bit of the enforcer. He comes in and bowls loads of bounces, and normally gets somebody out. That is so demanding on your body. So I think not pushing too much pressure on him. I think that some of the guys are a bit short of seemingly match practice, but they play 12 months a year. They'll be happy with them. So.
But Ben Stokes, to me, is the trump card, regardless of how much match practice he's had. He can pull a rabbit out of that. We know that. He's done it time and time again. He's your Botham. He's truly a champion. Now, coupled with Harry Brook and the reality of Ben Duckett, even Crawley doing well, Ollie Pope, Root. Oh, my God. England are in the box seat to win this series.
I would say so. I've said to you that, and I wasn't trying to be clever or arrogant or anything and it wasn't sort of like a Glenn McGrath prediction, which he always did when he came to England, that in Australia went 5-0. And sometimes they did, but he said that in 2005 and it didn't work out.
That was stupid of him, though. He was a player saying...
He was only doing that he was trying to rile various people. I know I was at the function where he said it, and Ricky Ponting, I was on the next table with Ricky Ponting, he just looked over at me and just raised his eyebrows, really, just to say, well, that ain't going to happen. So, it'd be interesting.
And then we're not even talking about Bairstow as well. Bairstow's keeping. My God, his batting is phenomenal as well.
Yeah.
My God.
And I also, because I still know these lads pretty well, I'd spare a thought for Ben Folkes because he hadn't done anything wrong. He batted really well in the subcontinent, but that is a consistency of selection. McCullum said right from the beginning, even before the Pakistan series, that when Bairstow's fit, he comes straight back in. So, but he said it publicly so that everybody knew what the scene was. So,
look, David, I just love the selections that Ben Stokes and good on McCullum and obviously the whole body of people involved now. England's got it right. From the top to the bottom, you've got a really good structure in there. It's super.
The one thing I think again, spare a thought for Jack Leach. He's had some serious health issues and an injury. that would highlights to me an area where we still have work to do. That actually an injury to a slow bowler meant that we had to ask somebody who had already retired to come out. So the spin stops within the UK need to be looked at. So, which I'm trying to identify, but to exist to bowl spin in the UK, you've got to be able to bat, because invariably you just won't be used. However, if the weather remains as it is, then there actually might be opportunity for spin bowlers to bowl. But because we now have this vitality, well, we have the T20 tournament, which
I hate that Vitality Blast, the naming. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then in August they play the 100-ball game. They don't play red ball cricket until the end of that. So how can people?
I struggle watching the Vitality Blast, to be really honest with you. I struggle. We have it here on our cable channels, and I try to watch it, and I get frustrated. I don't know. It's like our BBL here. It's just not happening anymore.
Well, I think the novelty bit is worn off. I think it's a tournament that needs huge crowds. If you take some of the crowds in the Big Bash and then you compare it to the final, and the final was huge in terms of the amount of people. David Payne, who plays for Gloucester, played for the side in Perth that won, and he said it was just fantastic. So, but the problem, well, it's a worldwide. Cricket is not in a cocoon, Norman. People are struggling to pay their bills, to survive, and sort of Bristol, like at Gloucestershire, they've got 3 Vitality Blast games in a week. Now, people haven't got enough money to pay for 3 games. It's ridiculous. So they try to compress it, and I think they're inadvertently driving people away. So, that's why the attraction of this match, India Australia, and then the Ashes series, because no one, unless they are an idiot or arrogant, can predict the outcome, because there are so many imponderables that's why it's going to be fantastic viewing.
Oh, then there's a heading here I've just read, and it says 2 golden generations have their last shot at a Test world title. Now, obviously, they're referring to the David Warner, Smith, even not Labuschagne, Khawaja, then Stark, even Hazel. It might be their last hurrah at this, because they may not be playing a couple of years' time. And in England's case, probably less impacting. India as well. The likes of Pujara, Kahane, even Kohli might be in their last legs.
Yeah. It's the 30-somethings, Norman. I think I described it as. It's
35-somethings. Yeah.
Well, I can say in my period of being involved in the international level as a selector, I found the most difficult phone calls to make was to say to somebody they're not selected in the World Cup if they're a specialist one-day player, because if they're a certain age, that's it. They won't be available in 4 years' time. So they were really difficult phone calls to make. So, but yeah, bottom line is, I think it'd be a fantastic series. Are you going to do something at the end of the day, Norman, or not?
Today, yes.
Yeah.
I've got a few people joining us. So if you're happy to come back, I'll send you another link.
I think
this is going to be riveting. This is going to be a really incredible match.
Yeah.
And even the Ashes will be too. I'm going to be there at least definitely by Lord's, and we'll be able to do things together, and I'll get everybody all on board.
Okay.
So thank you again, David. You don't go anywhere. We still haven't finished with this. We've got an hour and 5 minutes before the match starts. You got something pressing to do?
Yeah, I've got to go back to.
Oops, we've just lost him. Now, David Graveney, for those of you there's a few of them that may not know who David Graveney is. He's just left us now. He'll come back. David Graveney is a former chairman of selectors of English cricket. Now, he selected a whole host of incredible players like the Vaughans, the Kevin Petersons, you name that Flintoff period, that whole period, which was a renaissance in English cricket, where they thumped Australia in the 2005 Ashes in particular. And around that time with Alistair Cook and the like, he was pivotal to that timing and was amazing to see it happen. He had a great deal to do it. And he also put us in the picture with the likes of Harry Brook, to an extent, Ben Duckett and Crawley. They talked a lot about these players as they came through the younger ranks, and even talked in comparison to Cam Green and Shubman Gill. Having watched them as his selection processes were undertaken, he watched them in junior ranks coming through the under-19 circuit and on to the A teams and onto the top sides. So David is well versed on the whole breakdown of the teams, and is a man of great stature. So we're very grateful to have him on. Saman Awashi, what are you saying? Ashwin and a third team, Umesh Yadav. They both have amazing records against left-handed batsmen and Umesh reserves. I agree. So we'll go through that in a minute, but I'm pretty certain that the teams will be as follows. The Australian team will undoubtedly be with openers Warner and Kawaja. 3 will be Labuschagne, 4 Smith, 5 Head, 6 Green, Carey 7. Followed by the bowlers, which will include now Boland in for Hazelwood. Nesta still on the sidelines. That gives you the likes of Cummins, Stark, Lyon, and Boland in the bowling attack, with Cummins' as captaincy under question, but will be there with Smith backing him up. Last legs was on those players, I think, in the series, including the Ashes. Although Dave Warner has stated that he will play until the end of this summer season. It looks like the SCG will be his crescendo test match, and he'll linger on to the 2024 into a World Cup, and then his Australian career will be over. It'll be interesting to see who he eventually takes his place. But that'll be the Australian side for this match. Pretty certain that's already settled. I think Cummins intimated that that was his team without spelling it out. But India is the one that's been a little bit more cautious with their announcements. And I noticed when they sent through pictures, they left out the keeper in their pictures when they initially sent through pictures, which was an interesting little telling point. So again, India we'll see Gill open with Sharma, Pujara at 3, Kohli 4, Rahane 5. That's a very strong batting lineup, and still lingers into a previous situation. Of course, Rahul's not there. Mayank Agarwal's also not there. Shreyas Iyer's injured. Sky's not there. That is their team. They did have the young Caswell as a backup as well, who's been doing well in the IPL recently. But I would say that that's the top 6. The keeping position is the one that's under most question, and I still favour Ishan Kishan, but they'll probably go with Bharat, and it'll be more of a secure statement if that is. And whether they'll have Jadeja batting above him. That's a settled 7. It's the 4 that follows. Shami and Siraj are in there. That makes 9 players of certainty. The doubt will be around the next pacer. Looks like Umesh Yadav will go in ahead of Unadkat. But then the big one, Ashwin or Thakur or Akshar Patel. That threesome will bring down to 1. I still maintain that it should be Ashwin, and that's, to me, a certainty in my opinion. But it could shock us, and we may see Thakur ahead of him, or even Akshar Patel ahead of him. It's possible, but they've been grappling with that position. I think they've settled the keepers, but they've been grappling with the Ashwin position. And I don't know whether we saw any evidence in the warm-up as to what was happening. It's still it's 1 hour to go before play starts. It's now in England. It is in fact 9:30 a.m. Just on 9:30 a.m. at 1 hour before play. 1 hour before play, so a 9:30 start. Sorry, 10:30 start is the starting time. It's currently 9:30 there. So 1 hour before play. The toss will probably be in the next half an hour. So by 10 o'clock local time, which will be in my case 7 p.m. Australian time, we'll know of who has won the toss. And I think it'll be a toss that you don't want to have to win to make that decision. If Australia, with Pat Cummins in charge, makes the decision to bowl first, I think that's a mistake, because it'll allow the Ashwins and Jadeja, if they're both in, to bowl last on this wicket. And if there's any chance of spin, they'll extract it. So I think that's a danger. But Pat Cummins has been doing that. He's been bowling first on a few occasions. If it was Mark Taylor or Ricky Ponting or Michael Clark and even Steve Waugh, they probably would bat first without even thinking, or Alan Board would bat first without even thinking, regardless. I don't think Australia's got the strength of character to do that for some reason with Cummins. We'll wait and see. there's discussion the final feels exceptionally or especially weighty since it pits two best teams, not just of Test cricket's last 2 years, but arguably of its last decade. So that's a significant point. It's not just the best two teams of this last 2 years. It's been the one of the decade, Australia and India. But England certainly is floating around in that top three as well. South Africa, no. New Zealand, it did a little bit, but they've fallen away a little bit. Williamson and the loss of Ross Taylor has been significant. So this is a massive, massive match. And as what Sunan Owashi says, he says, Ashwin in their third seamer being Umesh Yadav. I think that's a pretty safe bet, and they made an earth with Bharat as well. Conditions of present form favours Aussies, they will win. Kapil Verma, you reckon that conditions favour the Aussies? I don't think you can say that. This is England, not Australia. It suited New Zealand last time because New Zealand probably are more akin to English conditions, and they played the series against England prior to the World Test Championship. So they had practice and runs on the board before entering that match against India. This time around, both teams have had virtually no practice, as in real test matches beforehand. England certainly did against Ireland, but India and Australia both come out of their IPL series. Both teams have not had their players there. I think Labuschagne and what's his name? Good old Pujara's been floating around. I'm just telling someone, I am live. Watch me on live. So, yes, it's a big moment in time for both these teams. And as they're saying, the golden generations of Pujara, Sharma, Kohli, and certainly Rahane against the Australian contingent of Warner, Smith, to an extent, Stark, Hazelwood, and Cummins, they would really, it would really be significant for their people to be also able to see. Yes, so I'm just telling someone here, Neo Wilma Muckling, I'm on live at the moment. Lexi, I'm also, so I'm live on YouTube. You can see me talking, guys. So we can, a couple of friends message me. Okay, tactical CKR. Why Boland instead of Nessa? Well, Boland's got many, many, many efforts where he's bowled well in Australia and has the ability to keep it on the right lanes, I should say, and be able to have that ball move a little bit through natural movements rather than even proper swing. And it can be very deadly on this pitch. So a good selection to have him in front of Nessa, I would say. So it is a big deal at the moment, big deal indeed. This whole match is going to have a pivotal effect for the next, well, what is it, for the next 5 days? Well, it may not be that long. The weather's predicted to be not as good, but we'll see. All right, so let's have some other questions here. No, India's best tested base attack is more dangerous compared to Australia's attack. I would agree with that. Please discuss only for Aussie players here, not India. No, we need to discuss all players. Can't be one-sided. So we've got 56 minutes before the game was actually underway. Afghanistan versus Sri Lanka. Unfortunately, Afghanistan were out for 116. Sri Lanka won for 120. An easy victory for them. UAE, West Indies beat them there. And the Sri Lanka A, South African A team has also gone by the wayside. But Australia, India. Just trying to see if there's any last-minute discussions, any commentary there. It doesn't seem to have anything discussed regarding pitch conditions or any player relationships. I would say with some certainty that the Australian side settled. The Indian side is settled in their mind. They haven't announced it. They've probably kept Ashwin ahead of Thakur, and they've not also put Patel in. And Umesh Yadav will probably get the other seaming position in the team in the absence of a Bumrah. So that'll be the changes that are made there. Let's have a look at some other comments here. Yes, Cummins. Stark's bowls well. It could be significant, but I don't know whether he is. Aussie should have played two spinners, Todd Murphy and Of course, Nathan Lyon, and 2 paces with Green. Well, Pat Cummins made that pretty clear that he's not going to do that. He's going to have himself bowl with Mitchell Starc and, of course, Scott Boland coming in. And Cam Graham is the 4th pacer, and he'll have the 1 spinner, Nathan Lyon. He's not going to put 2 spinners in. And I think that's a wise move for Australia because they really haven't got the conditions that suits a Todd Murphy like it did in India or Pakistan and the places he did play. In the case of India, though, they have a trump card with Ashwin, not only as a bowler, but also as a all-rounder, a bowling all-rounder, even potentially a batting all-rounder. Jadeja's certainly there. And even if they were to consider Axar Patel, that would be a smart move over and above Shardul Thakur. I think that's the way that they'll go. If it had been in Australia, Shardul Thakur and Axar Patel may have featured more heavily, and that may well have been a significant move in that regard. So yeah, we've still got at least another. We've got another 54 minutes. We're looking at 24 minutes before the actual selection of the sides are announced and the toss, the all-important toss. David Graveney and I talked about it earlier. Traditionally, it always bat first would be the way that most Australian captains would go, and even with India, they would do the same. But I think because of if they do play Ashwin and Jadeja or Patel potentially, then they will probably want to bowl last and therefore bat first. So if that's the case, India will probably would like to bat first and bowl second and therefore bowl 4th as well. So India will prefer to bat first, whereas Australia decide to bowl first. It'll play into India's hands. So, but then if they bat first and bat badly, they can also play into India's hands. It's a big decision for Pat Cummins or whoever wins the toss to make. And I think definitely Pat Cummins will prefer not to have to make that toss. That's my thoughts. I think there'll be a lot of conjecture as to whether he does that. So at this point, there is some concern about the weather. Again, there's a bit of discussion about the climate, but it appears quite sunny at the moment, and I don't think there'll be any issues there. So Qantas Australia. Yeah. What's she want in this video called? I'm just going to text the partner for a minute. Hang on a sec. Back on now? Can you hear me now? Guys, can you tell me whether you can hear me now? Am I back on? I'm getting a back on. Okay. All right. So we'll go back to the discussion we had before. We really need to decide on the teams. Now we've gone through the listed IPL. There's some discussion here. There's no sound. Is it still no sound? Guys, just confirm. Someone in the messaging, I got a confirmation from another phone. So, Neo, Wilma, you can confirm for me. Can you hear me? Because I know she's listening. Okay. So, back to the game here. We've already discussed this already. We'll go through it a number of times. So at 20 minutes to go to the toss, we're just getting some confirmation. And the big question for India is, are Ashwin as a second spinner or a fourth fast bowler? That's the question that's being asked at the ground. We have no doubt that if Ashwin plays, he'll be significant to the team. Why aren't they playing this match at Lord's ground? So Tambani Tararis was asking that question about whether they're playing at Lord's. Well, they just had a test match there recently between England and Ireland. And of course, this match was previously meant to be played down at Hampshire. But in fact, this is the choice this time around was the Oval. It's deemed to be a neutral ground. Of course, if England were involved, it wouldn't be a neutral ground, but England were not involved. India now the second time round in the World Test Championship final, previously against New Zealand, now against Australia. I believe this will favour India more than Australia. Previously, New Zealand had the benefit in the last World Test Championship some 2 years ago because they had played against England prior to that and had 2 test matches to warm up for the World Test Championship final, and ultimately they had won that match against India. But India will be a lot wiser from that experience. Will now be able to take that into this match and will have a very, very good chance of beating Australia. And I think they will see this as their major goal because, quite frankly, this is a massive moment for the likes of Sharma, Kohli, Rahane and Pujara in particular. And the bowling line, if in fact Ashwin plays, will be very big for him as well because they may not be around in 2 years' time. We just don't know. Australia will certainly not have Warner. Will probably not have Smith, Khawaja. They probably won't have Stark either. And Hazelwood, well, he's not playing anyway. Those players will have seen their best and may not be in the squad. But Warner certainly won't be there. He's already announced that 2024 is the time that he's going to leave. So we've got 47 minutes to the match starting, some 17 minutes or thereabouts to the toss, which will be obviously very, very significant. So, guys, you have to make a point of telling me what your thoughts are. What would you do if you were in a situation where I've just told this person 2 hours and okay, all right. So again, the loss of Bumrah, and they're even mentioning Ishant Sharma, and those 2 players not playing do hurt the Indian bowling lineup somewhat. In the case of Australia, we lost Hazelwood. But we were talking earlier, Rishabh Pant to me is the player that is probably the one that will be the most missed by far. Rishabh Pant's play, really a la Ishan Kishan, but they're not going to pick him. Barrett will probably be in there, is significant. I think he even looked good in that last World Test Championship. He gave Australia one hell of a shake. Not Australia, sorry, New Zealand one hell of a shake. And it really was of great importance. By the way, guys, thank you very much. We've reached 39,509 subscribers, which I'm very proud of, and I'm very glad that we've got that happening. So thank you for that. So let's have a look here. Look at the last hour. We've got very good numbers here, guys. We've got very, very good numbers at the moment in this particular session. So I do thank you. We've been about an hour. We've had, in fact, several thousand people watch the show, which I'm very proud of, and it's glad to see you all back. We've had a period of time where we haven't had the show. We have David Graveney will have more guests on as we build towards the Ashes series in England, which will be starting on June 16th, if I'm not wrong. And I think like June 28th, there's a test match at Lord's. Then we'll have the last 3 test matches in that 5-test Ashes series. So Australia will play effectively 6 test matches. So do England. They played already against Ireland only just recently, where they thumped Ireland quite comprehensively, with young Tongue bowling well, taking a fifer on his debut at Lord's, and then Ben Duckett's 182, and then of course Ollie Pope with the double century. Some great scores evidence there, very much so. Very, very impressive indeed. I think there's no doubt that it's really shone out as a remarkable England performance. So I know we're talking about Australia first. Let's digress for a minute while we wait for the toss to happen. We've got some 14 minutes before the toss. Okay, we're getting Australia is more or less known, and that's true, Scott Boland. I'm mentioning that now, that we've gone through it again. We've said that already. Warner, Kalarja, Labuschagne, Smith, Head, well, he's not my favourite, Cameron Green, Alex Carey, Pat Cummins as captain number 8, Stark, Lyon and Boland. That's probably going to be Australia's lineup, without a doubt. I think there's no changes to that. The Indian team is the one where the issues will be, and they will definitely be around the keeping and one of the bowlers' positions, whether it'll be spinner or a further pacer. Shardul Thakur is worthy of contention. And of course, we can't forget Axel Patel. They both bat notably well, did well in Australia some 2 years or so ago. Really impressive. Gill's the great inclusion. He was there as well. Rahul's not here, and I think that might have been a blessing for Gill to be able to get his chance. He can really show his performance. I've got an element of a question mark on Rahane. Pujara not as much. Pujara, as David Graveney said a bit earlier, he's converted 8 50s into hundreds in his period in county cricket. 8 50s in a row into hundreds. That is a remarkable turnover from 50 to 100. You don't normally convert that way, and it's a superb testament to Pujara. If he plays anywhere near that in this match, watch out, Australia. Sharma's been, you would argue, very, very quiet, especially in the IPL recently. He was fairly dormant in the way he batted. Gill was superb. He went through the roof. Pujara didn't play, of course. Rahane played pretty well. Even Ridham and Saha did. But he's not being considered here. Burrett is the keeper, more than likely ahead of Ishan Kishan. They do have a lot of, a lot of support for both Shreyas Iyer and Sky. Both of them are not here. Sky might be in the squad. I'm not going to confirm on that, but and that Jaswal's here. But Shreyas Iyer was not selected because of an injury. He's been a bit injury plagued for a young man. It's a bit disappointing, actually. So they're not playing with, again, the question of why they're playing at Lords. Well, Home of Cricket World Test Championship. Yeah, I would agree it should have played at Lords. Perhaps Ireland should have played England at the Oval. Maybe that might have been the case, but for whatever reason, they've chosen the Oval. The Oval is traditionally one of the last Test matches to be played in the series. That is a Test series like the Ashes. So normally number 5 or 4 or 5 in the series counting. So in this case, it's been used rather early on, which may be slightly more, I wouldn't say raw conditions, but they did say it would turn more if it was played later in the series. It's played early, it might take away some of the aspects of spin, which could detract from Ashwin playing. I'll be curious to see how that went down. Rahul Dravid, of course, is the coach, and captain is Rohit Sharma. Will they want Ashwin on the side or not? I can't imagine them leaving him out, but there is a lot of discussion about Ashwin not playing, and how could you not play the leading spin bowler in the world? And he is. Nathan Lyon's very notable. We've got a number of other players out there that are very good as well. We've got Rashid Khan. We've got Moeen Ali's returning. There's a lot of to be said about him. But yeah, you'd have to say Ashwin is the best bowler of spin in the world at the moment. Looking at his stats, he's behind Lyon, but we'll go past him eventually. They're both in the top 10 at this stage. In fact, Lyon's pushing 500 Test wickets. He's got 482, which means he's only, 18 away from reaching 500 Test wickets. Now, Nathan Lyon will be the first person to admit that that's not what he would expect. He does not expect to be in a situation where he would be the that close to 500 by any means. Bit of scrambled writing here. Well, the story is there. Let's just check on this. Okay. So 10 minutes to go, or it's just on 10 minutes before they'll go out and toss. And what do you do if you win is the conversation. Conventional wisdom has been to bat first in most conditions. As I said, a Taylor or a Ponting or a War, I think McClark for Australia would bat first, would win a toss and bat first regardless, even in England. But Pat Cummins has tossed a few times and has actually said bowl first. and has it bitten him in the bum a bit? I think so. And if they play Ashwin, if India can hold back their selection until they do the toss, happy days, but they probably won't. I think they'll go with Ashwin. If that's the case, then Pat Cummins cannot allow Australia to bat second, in my opinion. So that's the question. England is one of the places where you can't decide beforehand what you will do. You turn up in the morning and take one last look at the over conditions and forecast. It's been overcast this morning, so there it is. I'm glad I have to make the decision. So it's actually been overcast, which does suit bowling. It does suit the seam bowling if they're capable of getting early wickets. But if it were Australia to win the toss and put India in the bat, and India were to survive the early hours, that puts them in the box seat, score well, take a lead. Australia will bat second and fourth, therefore last, and have to face spin, which would be treacherous. So I think Australia would be hoping that India win the toss, but India wins the toss, they will bat first. I'm pretty sure they'll bat first because they are more like what a Ponting or a Mark Taylor or War would have done. They probably would bat first. The strength of their batting, they would like to bat first because they know they've got Ashwin and Jadeja coming in the back end. It'll be beneficial for them to bowl second or bowl last. So the toss is, I think, important. The toss is always important. It's more so important on some of the subcontinent decks and to a lesser extent Australia, but in England, in this serious match, Australia wants to, I think, well, they should boldly bat first, but Pat Cummins has been renowned for wanting to bowl first. He and his charges, in this case, bowl and Stark can take early wickets and get on top early. But if they don't, and Gill and Sharma survive and Pujara survive that first session or so's play, it could turn completely against them. Yeah, that's the interesting dilemma that we'll face. But I think they've thought about this. Hopefully, Pat Cummins has got more clout to the way he's doing things, because I still think he's suffering from lack of experience, if I'm being honest. Distinctly lack of experience. We're very, very close to this toss happening, guys. Very close. It's now 7 minutes from the toss. All important toss. So I mean, I'm not sure they've got any visuals coming yet. Well, I said there's any visuals coming from 7+. They probably are there on now. 7 News is on now. Australia versus their pre-game is on. I've got to sign in. Face ID to get in. Camera covered. There we are. Okay, we're on. Okay. Sign in. So we'll just wait.
The Google app, now with more ways to search. Tap the camera icon.
Google app there. I've got a bit of an ad going on. All right, so any questions, guys? Any suggestions we're making? We're going to wait and see what in fact happens here. So this is a lead-up discussion to day one. Channel 7 in Australia has the rights to it. No other channel, not Fox Sports or Channel 9. Channel 9 will have the rights to the Ashes. Whether Foxtel is, I'm not sure offhand. It's remiss of Foxtel to have got that. I think if they haven't got it, they still haven't got the World Test Championship, being an ICC-run event, as opposed to the Ashes being between Australia and England and the various cricket boards. Okay, so we're not seeing anything happening here. What's going on? So, allow, okay. Oh, I don't seem to be getting much. Yeah, so Australia versus the event starts soon. Well, as we said, we've got some 6 minutes now before the actual, in fact, 5 minutes now before the actual toss. I'm getting excited. Are you getting excited? You should be getting excited. This is a very exciting moment. The toss in a World Test Championship final, the second one that's been had. The previous one was some 2 years ago when New Zealand beat India, not so convincingly, and India were a bit lackluster. India will have learnt from that experience, being in England conditions. They'll be ready for it more. Ishan Kishan is there, but he won't play. But the bowling attack may be a little bit different this time around. I think Siraj has come of age. Shami is ever present. And Umesh Yadav with his reverse swing might be very useful. Is there a question of Shardul, Thakur, or Ashwin? It's a big call because it'll change the whole way that the match turns out. Because if they've only got one spinner, they may not necessarily need to bowl last as they would previously have thought. Okay. There's been some information given that Mohammad Shami, Siraj, and Shardul Thakur are definitely playing. Now, that's a bit of a shock. So it's between Ashwin and Umesh Yadav for the final spot. He also reports that Chaos Barrett will be keeper. Okay, so it looks as though, as we predicted, Barrett would be keeper ahead of Ishan Kashab. And as opposed to Umesh Yadav being a certainty to bowl, it won't be between Ashwin and Thakur. It'll be between Ashwin and Umesh Yadav for that last spot. So Siraj, Thakur, and Shami are in. So the Indian team, at this point in time, 10 of the 11 are being virtually decided. The openers, of course, with Gill and Sharma, Rohit Sharma, the captain. Pujara at 3, the likes of Kohli at 4, Rahane at 5, 6 Jadeja, 7 Bharat, 8 Thakur, 9 and 10 a combination of Siraj and Shami, and the 11th player, whether it'll be Umesh Yadav at 11 or an Ashwin up the order. Very interesting. Kumar Sangakkara says there will be both swing and seam. Kumar Sangakkara is out in the middle having a chat, and he's saying it'll be both swing and seam, not mention of spin. So I think India will go with 4 quicks, and this side, we're going to tell us like about bowl first. Okay, so there's a bit of a change there that this whole batting first scenario may not happen. It may well be that India may even decide if they put in 4 seamers and the one spinner of Jadeja, that they'll actually bowl first. So that's the discussion that's going on, that there'll be swing and seam and not as much spin, which does imply that Ashwin will not be selected. We'll wait and see. We haven't got that confirmation until 2 minutes to the toss, but it looks as though Kumar Sangakkara is erring towards, as one of the commentators out there, that he sees swing and seam playing a role rather than spin, which would probably see 4 quicks, which would mean Thakur, Umesh Yadav, Siraj and Shami with Jadeja and no Ashwin. Massive call. Massive, massive call. Have to think it's a massive call. Only a minute to go. And we'll see if I get any coverage of the actual toss. Let's have a look here. 7 again. I want 7 News. It's live TV. Australian the pre-game was well, the toss. Okay, so they're saying that for the first test in June, which this is, the Oval at the Oval ever. This is the first test in June in the Oval ever. So that's an interesting point. There's over 6 millimetres of grass on the pitch, which is quite a bit, which does imply swing and seam. And it's cloudy overhead. Kumar Sangakkara says that it will be both there. So that's pretty conclusive. 6 inches of grass, 6 millimetres of grass with an overcast conditions allows swing and seam to be more prevalent. Therefore, they may decide to bowl first, and on top of that, not have 2 spinners. Pat Cummins already made that decision, and we'll wait and see what's going to happen here. Well, they should be out there tossing now. Getting some reports going on. I'm showing some broadcast coverages. Quite impressive. Yeah, this this saber, if you want to call it that, this incredible trophy for the World Test Championship is amazing. They do say Australia versus India World Test Championship final live from the Oval. There's aerial shots of it now. For the first time in June, the Oval has been used for Test cricket ever. Normally, it's the second last or last Test of the series. 6 millimetres of grass extra on the pitch. We've got out the middle there, we've got James Brayshaw, Justin Langer, and Ricky Ponting as the commentators. Yes, the reality is 6 millimetres of grass on the pitch, cloud overhead. Kumar Sanghara has already stated very clearly, in his opinion, it's a situation. Why is it we've got no commentary? And why is no one making comments? I'm trying to make comments to see whether there's any comments live on. It's very unusual for people not to make comments, I would have thought. Let's see what my comment. We lost. This is comments, banners. I'm not getting any commentaries. Okay. So this is on this. She's saying hi all. Okay. I'm not replying. Who have you signed? Who signed the bats behind me? Well, okay. You got Viv Richards over here. You got Wes Hall. You've got also, I think Andy Roberts is on there. A lot of West Indian players. You got behind me. You've got Bradman. You've also got there. You've got the likes of Murali and Shane Warne. You want to really know? So while we seem to be going okay. All right, so I've still got that program there. What's going on here? All right, so okay. Pat Cummins spins the coin. Rohit Sharma calls heads, and heads it is. India will be bowling first. So that's the decision that's been made. India will be, but Pat Cummins spins the coin, and that means that Rohit Sharma calls heads, and heads it is. India will be bowling first. So India have won the toss and have elected to bowl first, which is because of these overhead conditions, and respectfully so, that's going to change things quite considerably. And I might just put that comment up there now, post that up there, I'll just put that there. We've got, shameless covered up there. So we've got, let me repeat that one more time. We've got quite an incredible moment here. This is India have won the toss and elected to bowl first. They're clearly not picking Ashwin, I'd say, that predicament. They're not picking Ashwin at all. I'd say Ashwin's not been picked. Let's have a look there. There's no comment at this point, but it won't be far away. They'll be showing the actual side without. Okay. Rohit confirms they're going with 4 fast bowlers. It's tough to leave Ashwin out. He's been a match winner for us. Yep, and Ashwin is out. Well, that's the shock of the decision-making process, that they've left out their leading spinner. Are they going to rue that decision? What do you think, guys? Are they going to rue that decision? I don't know. I think that. Okay. So that's the way it is. My current live stream, here we go. India will field. That's correct. So India won the toss and elected to bowl first. That's the decision they've made. So India win the toss and they've elected to bowl first. There we have it. The teams, well, they're likely to be, as we said before, and I'll have that confirmed, but I'm pretty sure we're going to have that decided upon now. And I don't know why we've gone through it. Let's pause. There we are. That's better. Now we've got the real thing going on. All right. Okay. So India will be bowling first, as I've said. We've had a few people that are now watching that are yeah, it's quite an incredible situation, actually. India's team will clearly be one of bowling. So therefore, India's batting lineup is as follows. You've got both Rohit Sharma with Gill, followed by the likes of Pujara, Kohli, Rahane, Bharat will certainly be in there. Here we are, the teams are being announced. Richard Asia, Thakur, Yadav, Shami, Siraj. Definitely Ashwin's been left out. Alex expected the Australian team as per the program we set. Warner, Khawaja, Labuschagne, Smith, Head, Green, Carey, and of course Stark, Cummins, Lyon, and Boland. So Cummins also said he would bowl first as well. He confirmed Scott Balling's playing the first 11. So they both teams decided to bowl first, which is such a, I can't help but say it's such a foreign thing for me to hear. It's not something that I'm used to seeing as a cricketing aficionado. We tend to like to bat first. Think about it, bat first. That's kind of what it always has been. So I'm just posting about that. So Pat Cummins spins the coin. Sharma calls heads, and heads it is. India will be bowling first. Rohit confirms they're going to, with 4 fast bowlers, it is tough to leave Ashwin out. He has been a match winner for us. There's not a great occasion to leave him out, but you have to go with what is best for the team. And the given conditions, says Rohit. Cummins says he would have bowled first, and the teams are selected. So there we have it. There we have it. And the 4 important players, Kohli, Cummins, Sharma, and Smith. Probably the right 4 to do. But, all right, guys. We're set now, aren't we? We're ready for play almost. We've had a great broadcast. So I'd like to let you go in there and sit and get ready. We've got some 20 minutes before the plays. Unless you've got any other questions, Dr. X is in his feeling. It's 44 here. And so Sonia says, what are you questioning there? The reality is we really are in a situation where, you know, India, I'll repeat the side one more time just so we get that clear. Toss, India will bowl. India decided to bowl first. Rohit confirms we've got 4 seamers and 1 spinner, and the spinner is Jadeja. He admits leaving Ashwin out on this great occasion. Rahane makes his return to the 11 as well. So Cummins says he would have bowled first and confirms Boland's in for Hazlewood. So just to confirm one more time, the Australian 11 as per batting order, and they will in fact bat first. Warner, Khawaja, Labuschagne, Smith, Head, Green, Carey, Stark, Cummins, Lyon, and Boland. That's the 11 for Australia. Warner, Khawaja, Labuschagne, Smith, Head, Green, Stark, Stark, Cummins, Lyon, and Boland. And of course, India, when they get their chance to bat first, it'll be Sharma, Gill, Pujara, Kohli, Rahane, Bharat, Jadeja, Thakur, Yadav, Shami, and Siraj. And they've got quite a decent bowling line, very experienced. Shami, Siraj, Yadav, very experienced, threesome. Thakur, that X factor, can bat as well, with Jadeja there as well. So it's pretty solid. Big decision being made here. Big decision. Big decision. And I think India have got their game plan right. They're bowling first, and they haven't got that 2 spin attacks, so they can afford to do that, and that's the way it'll be. All right, let's have a look here. We might just leave it at that. I think everybody's now glued to the television sets, wanting to watch it, as opposed to the broadcast. So stay tuned. We'll come back after the match with the likes of David Graveney and a number of others will join me later. So thanks for watching. This is Norman Koshnick from Eyes on Cricket with Norman Koshnick, better known now as Eyes on Sports. Stay tuned for the days unfolding, the next 5 days of the test match here on my channel, Eyes on Cricket or Eyes on Sports. Thank you. Talk soon again, guys. Any questions? Any last questions? Throw them at me because we're about to leave. We don't want to have you miss out. There seems to be no more questions. It's cold. It is cold. Any other questions, guys? No? We've still got another 9-10 minutes before the game actually starts. 9-10 minutes. I think we can sort of leisurely move into that space. I might even order myself some dinner. Get some nice chicken curry. Be nice. And I'll see you guys after the day's play with a bit of luck. Whether I come back during the breaks, I'll decide that a bit later on. But at this point, we'll see how the game unfolds. In Australia, batting first. Warner and Kawaja will go there. That's going to be exciting to watch indeed, won't it? So, all right, guys. No other questions? Very happy about the way this has gone. This has been a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful start to the series. We've had quite a few thousand people watching the night's events, which has certainly pleased me a lot. We've gone over 39,500 subscribers. In fact, we're bolstering along very nicely. There's a so-called short that you may want to watch there. I've put up there, but otherwise everything seems to be going rather swimmingly well. And yes, they said that Rowett would win the toss, and he did. Cummins flicked it. Rowett's called heads, and that was heads. And Rowett won the toss and elected to bowl first with 4 paces and 1 spinner. And I think some dust told me that was the case. So there you go. Very, very, very nice. Very pleasant. Anyone else have any questions? No. All right. We've got only a handful of people watching, so everybody's probably glued to the screens now, which I get. All right, guys. Chat during the breaks. Either lunch and tea break, we'll see, but definitely after the day's play. And we've still got 4 more days to go. And I'm staying here in Australia at this point. I'm hoping to go to England in the ensuing weeks. I may miss the first test, the Ashes test, but I'll be certainly there for the Lord's test, and we'll see what else is happening. David will prove our Earth is best. David Warner will prove his haters wrong today. Okay. Our Earth is best. I hope you're right. I really do, because I don't know whether that's been the case at all. Let's just have a look here. We've got a fair degree of responses here. Let's have a look here. $254 live chats. That's pretty impressive. All right. Any other? Our Earth is best. You're right. David Warner will prove his best. Well, we'll see whether he can prove himself. Well, we'll just see that. I mean, you would think he will. So 4 seamers in the attack. That's a pretty bold, gutsy move, I must say. Australian team are there. Moeen Ali's returned to the squad. So out of 977 votes, 69% said that Rowett Sharma won the toss, and they were right. And 54% said Ashwin and Barrett will go in. Well, in fact, it was Thakur and Barrett and Yadav. So we all got that wrong, didn't we? So that's something that I think the Ashwin selection, is it a wrong decision? I'm not as happy about it as what some other people are, to be honest. I'm happy about it at all, as a matter of fact. Yes. All right, we've still got some 15 minutes to go. I'm going to try and see if I can get some live action on the screens here. There's some issues with the live feed, actually, which are not good. We're in a quick break. We'll be right back. So 7 Plus are having issues with their broadcast. That's not very good. The lead up to day one, you want to be able to see what's going on. Yeah, our Earth is best. You made that comment, and I kind of go with it. Dave Warner's going to show his medal. I kind of think you're right. It'd be nice to see him do well, honestly. What is wrong here? They're not showing the broadcast. This is very, very unusual. We're live. We've got Channel 7, 7 Plus, the home of sport. We're in a quick ad break. We'll be right back. Okay. Why don't they show the ads on 7 Plus? At least we'll know where we're at. At the moment, we don't know where we're at, so it's a bit annoying. But those of you who are just joining us now, I'll just repeat what's gone down. Pat Cummins spun the coin. Robert Sharma called heads. He won. He didn't hesitate and bowling first, sending the opposition to bat. Robert confirms there are going to be 4 fast bowlers. That is, of course, Shami, Siraj, Umesh Yadav, and Shardul Thakur with Jadeja. And he said it is tough to leave Ashwin out. He has been a match winner for us. It is not a great occasion to leave him out. Certainly, it's a World Test Championship. He should be in for his efforts to get them there. But you have to do what is best for the team and the given conditions, says Rohit Sharma. And it's gobsmacking. It's a bit like leaving Nathan Lyon out. We wouldn't do that, would we? Cummins says he would bowl first as well. So he's on the back foot immediately. They're batting first. He confirms Boland is playing in the 11, which we knew, in place of Hazelwood. And the Australian team, of course, is Warner, Khawaja, Labuschagne, Smith, Head, Green, Carey, Sark, Cummins, Lyon, and Boland. Now, the concern that I've got there is that Warner and Khawaja need to start well. Labuschagne could be exposed and could go early. Smith is a champion. Heads, I still believe, unpredictable. And Aditya is asking, India will win the I think so, on the toss. They're on the front foot already. And India's batters, Sharma, Gill, Pujara, Kohli, Rahane can take a bit of time, get to know the wicket before they go into bat. With Barrett, steady but not sensational batter. Ishan Kishan and Rishabh Pant are better batters. Jadeja, we know how good he is at all-round performance, both batting, bowling and fielding. Thakur, a rough diamond for sure. Akshar Patel will be the same. Yadav, Shami and Siraj, all very competent bowlers that have proven themselves at this level. So there we have it. There it is. It's a fairly big decision on it. And while we've got this stupid commercial thing going on, what are they doing? Oh, I hate that. Oh, I hate that. All right, we've got some 11 minutes before the match starts. They'll obviously have some ceremonies, I would imagine, would go on beforehand as well. Just seeing with 7 home and away. Here we go. Home and away. We're showing home and away here, which I don't want to see. Let's look at this live report. Here we go. We're back on again. I can see some action here with that Sabre. The ICC World Test Championship final 2023, live and free. Well, it might be live and free, but it's damn bloody slow at the moment. Well, yes, we'll be live on an orange ball. I'm showing a lot of this background kerfuffle. I don't know why they just all that. And there's a bit of angst between Kohli and the like. Don't worry, they're pretty aggressive. Those two, I'll tell you what. Be nice if we get some coverage here. Okay, 10 minutes before the countdown to the match. We know the Australian side. We know what the India side is. Ashwin out. Thakur in. Mushadov in. Bharat in. Australia, we knew Boland was in for Hazel. That was one change to be made. Rahane's inclusion, still interesting. Pujara's proving himself. Gill certainly has, especially in the IPL recently. Bharat, still a little bit raw at this level, I would argue. Probably a better gloveman than Ishan Kishan, but Punt would have been a walk-in if he was fit after his car accident. We're still here. We're seeing boats on the Thames. The London Eye, I can see there. There's various bridges, boats. And we've got Brayshaw with Justin Langer in the middle with their suits on. Crowds not fully there yet. Still a few walking out. I can see the stuff on the ground. They're getting it ready. They've had a mat on the ground. Not sure is there a delay. They're still doing some cleaning up around the pitch there. They're doing some mowing. Is there some mowing I'm seeing there? What is that? Has there been a delay to the start of this match? We'll soon find out.
Here before the middle of July in the history of the game. So there's a lot more grass on it. Whatever happens, it's going to be tough going for this first hour of play.
Okay, so the first hour of play will be tough going. Justin Lang has just said for the batters, that is Warner and Kawaja. Kawaja, we know, is more than capable of surviving. Warner is susceptible in this situation, especially English conditions. There's not a broad in the opposition, but Sharmi, one hell of a good swing bowler. And, Bhuvneshwar Kumar would be a good selection too. He's not here. Siraj also very good line of length. And then Mashadov bowls that in swing. So there's some very capable bowlers. And Thakur, nice little tight line of length. All right. Let's adjourn. We can see the Indian players are now walking out. In fact, Ross Taylor's bringing out the Sabre with some Emirates Airlines hostesses with him. They're bringing it out to the middle. It's like a handover from Ross Taylor, who was won it previously with New Zealand, with Kane Williamson. He's bringing it out. He's placing it on the Sabre. I think this is great theatre. Great theatre. There he is. He looks quite happy. He's now retired from Test cricket. Great performance by Ross Taylor. And the Indian flag with the Australian flag are out in the middle. Crowd is not fully there yet. Scott Boland and Siraj having a bit of a chat there, and I see Alex Carey and Rahane having a bit of a chat, and there's Kawaja with Sharmi. Sharmi's got a black armband, and I'm not sure what's going on there. So Pat Cummins with Kohli. Interesting how Pat Cummins is walking with Kohli. You would have thought, and there's Warner with Sharmi. We've got the national anthems coming out. We've got some distinguished-looking women coming out to the middle to perform the national anthems. And you can see the famous gasworks there in the background. Some Australian bowler hats. I really wish I was there, guys. I really wish I was there. I'm very, very ticked off that I'm Owen Sharma looks a little bit apprehensive, but he's made the decision to won the toss. Heads was tossed. Cummins tossed. Heads was called by Sharma. He won the toss, and there's Richie Richardson there. He's the match referee. Come on, I think he might be fourth. We've got both teams are wearing black armbands on their arm. I'm not sure what the occasions are, who has actually passed. I'm not aware of anyone in particular. Ajinka Rahane there looks quite relaxed. So you can see Mitchell Stark's cap has got little frayed edges. And then we have the Indian flag and the Australian flag. Indian to the left, Australia to the right. So my friend Nia Wilmer has stepped away from the screens. How dare you? How dare you? I'm going to have to make a comment there. There you go. For those who are able, please stand to observe a moment's silence in remembrance of the victims. How dare you? So the anthems will be called for both teams. So Mohammed's the best bowler. Aditya Kumar says that Mohammed Sharmi, or Mohammed Siraj, both are good. Huge. There's Dinesh Karthik rings the bell. Oh, the Indian national anthem. All right, guys, World Test Championship 23, which is 2023. Massive, massive match. This is massive. All right, so with only 4 minutes before the start of play, We've got Warner and Kawaja opening and batting against an opening bowling attack of probably Shami, and I would imagine Siraj. I'm not sure the Machado will take the new ball. Probably not. Tucker in the wings, and obviously Jadeja. Siraj looks clean cut there, ready to go. The ground, the pitch looks a green top, I'm afraid to say. Whoa, is it a green top or what? There's showing Rahul Dravid. India with all the new top Bharat Army I can see there. Kumar Damasena and Richie Richardson know them both very well. The Australian squad have got a few extra players of India. National was going ahead. Significant when Australia plays the national. All right, guys, we might leave it at that. Catch you after the first day's play at some stage, either at the end or towards the end. We'll see how things unfold. Let's see Australia bat well and India bowl well and have a great match. So thank you for being there for the preview. Have several thousand who watch. Very impressed. Talk to you again. This is Eyes on Cricket, Norman Koshlak, Eyes on Sports, with David Graveney. Thanks to him. Had a great show. Talk to you soon.